Reported speech. Reported speech. What is reported speech? What is reported speech? Reported speech is when you tell somebody else what you or a person said before. Distinction must be made between direct speech and reported speech. When reporting speech, the tense usually changes. This is because when we use reported speech, we are usually talking about a time in the past, because it's clear the person who spoke originally spoke in the past. The verbs, therefore, usually have to be in the past too. The tenses of the reported clause are usually moved back. This moving back of tenses is called backshift. For example, Adam said, "I am hungry." This sentence is in direct speech. Adam said that he was hungry. Reported speech. Direct speech, reported speech. Simple present will be simple past. He said, "I am happy." He said that he was happy. Present continuous, past continuous. He said, "I'm looking for my book." He said that he was looking for his book. Simple past, past perfect simple. He said, "I visited Tamaris last year." He said that he had visited Tamaris the previous year. Present perfect will be past perfect. He said, "I've lived here for a long time." He said that he had lived there for a long time. Past perfect, past perfect. He said they had finished the work when I arrived. He said that they had finished the work when we had arrived. Direct speech, reported speech. Past continuous will be past perfect continuous. For example, he said, "I was playing football when the accident occurred." He said that he had been playing football when the accident had occurred. Present perfect continuous will be past perfect continuous. For example, he said, "I have been playing football for 2 hours." He said that he had been playing football for 2 hours. Past perfect continuous will be past perfect continuous. He said, "I had been reading a newspaper when the light went off." He said that he had been reading a newspaper when the light had gone off. Future simple between brackets will plus verb will be conditional between brackets would plus verb. He said, "I will open the door." He said that he would open the door. Conditional between brackets would plus verb. Conditional between brackets would plus verb. He said, "I would buy Mercedes if I were rich." He said that he would buy Mercedes if he had been rich. Direct speech, indirect speech. Can, could, may, might, must, had to, shall, should, will, would. Direct speech, indirect speech. Other examples. She said it's cold. She said it was cold. She said, "I'm teaching English online." She said she was teaching English online. She said, "I've been on the web since 2003. She said she had been on the web since 2003. Changing pronouns, personal and possessive. Direct speech, reported speech. I will be he or she. Me will be him or her. My will be his or her. We will be they. Us will be them. Ours will be their. For example, Miloudi said, I am coming. Miloudi said, I am coming. Miloudi said that he was coming. Time and place changes. It is often necessary to make time and place changes in relation to tense changes. Time expressions. Now will be then. Today, that day. Tonight, that night. Yesterday, the day before. Tomorrow, the following day, or the next day. Next day, the following day. Next week, the following week. Next month, the following month. Next year, the following year. Place expressions. Here will be there. This will be that. These will be those. Direct speech. Kenza said, I did this exercise last night. Indirect speech. Kenza said that she had done that exercise the previous night. The modal verbs could, should, would, might, need, ought to, used to do not normally change. Example, he said she might be right. He said that she might be right. Other modal verbs may change. Can, I can do it. He said he could do it. May I go out? He wanted to know if he might go out. Must, she must apply for the job. He said that she must to apply for the job, or he said that she had to apply for the job. Will, they will call you. He told her that they would call her. Place, demonstratives, and time expressions. Place, demonstratives, and time expressions change if the context of the reported statement, the location, and or the period of time is different from that of the direct speech. So, in the following table, you will find the different changes of places, demonstratives, and time expressions. Time expressions. Today will be that day. Now, then. Yesterday, the day before. Days ago, days before. For example, 2 days ago, 2 days before. 3 days ago, 3 days before, etc. Last week, the week before. Next year, the following year. Tomorrow, the next day, or the following day. Now, place. Here will be there. Now, demonstratives. This will be that. These will be those. Reporting questions. When transforming questions, check whether you have to change pronouns, place, and time expressions, tenses, backshift. Also note that you have to transform the question into an indirect question. Use the question word, for example, where, when, what, how, or if, or whether. Types of questions: direct speech and indirect or reported speech. Types of questions: with question word what, why, where, how. For example, why don't you speak English? He asked me why I didn't speak English. Now, types of questions. Without question, word yes or no questions. For example, do you speak English? Reported speech. He asked me whether I spoke English, or he asked me if I spoke English. Reporting requests, comments. When transforming requests and comments, check whether you have to change pronouns, place and time expressions. For example, Nancy, do the exercise. He told Nancy to do the exercise. Nancy, give me your pen, please. He asked Nancy to give him her pen. Tenses are not relevant for requests. Simply use to or not to plus verb infinitive without to. For example, she said, sit down. She asked me to sit down. She said, don't be lazy. She asked me not to be lazy. For affirmative, use to plus infinitive without to. For negative requests, use not to plus infinitive without to. Other transformations. Expressions of advice with must, should, and ought are usually reported using advice urge. For example, you must read this book. He advised me to read that book, or he urged me to read that book. The expression let's is usually reported using suggest. In this case, there are two possibilities for reported speech, gerund or statement with should. For example, let's go to the cinema. One, we can say, he suggested going to the cinema. He suggested going to the cinema. Or he suggested that we should go to the cinema. He suggested that we should go to the cinema. Main clauses connected with the and but. If two complete main clauses are connected with the and or but, put that after the conjunction. For example, he said, I saw her, but she didn't see me. Reported speech. He said that he had seen her, but that she hadn't seen him. If the subject is dropped in the second main clause, the conjunction is followed by a verb. Do not use that. For example, she said, I'm a nurse and work in hospital. Reported speech. He said that she was a nurse and worked in a hospital. If I were you, if I were you. At school or in grammar books, you are normally taught the following rule. I, he, she, it was. You, we, they, were. This is correct when we are talking about the past tense. But there is another situation in which where appears. That's not the past tense. It also appears in the subjunctive mood. First, let's look at the following structure and meaning before explaining what is here and why it happens like that. If I were you. If I were you is used when giving advice about what you would do in the same situation as the other person. You imagine yourself in their position or situation and what you normally would do or how you would react. If I were you, I would study more. If I were you, I would stop doing that. If I were you, I would go to the doctor. If I were you, I wouldn't play with those wires. Though in informal and grammatically incorrect English, you may hear some people say, if I was. This usage doesn't sound good, so try to avoid it. You can also change the order of the sentence. I would study more if I were you. I would be more careful if I were you. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Notice how the comma is not, you see, the comma is not necessary with this word order. Why do you use if I were and not if I was? The reason we use were instead of was is because the sentence is in the subjunctive mood, which is used for hypothetical situations. This is a condition which is contrary to fact or reality. The fact is, I am not you. In the subjunctive mood, we use if plus I, he, she, it plus were for the verb to be. If I were not in debt, I would quit my job. But the contrary is true. I am in debt, so I cannot quit my job. If he were taller, he would be accepted into the team. If he were taller, he'd, l'abréviation, he'd be accepted into the team. She would still be correcting my grammar if she were still alive. She would still be correcting my grammar if she were still alive. In informal English, you will hear some people say, if I was, if he was, ainsi de suite. Again, this usage doesn't sound good though, unfortunately it is common, especially on the internet and social media sites. Can if I was ever be correct? Yes. Though the sentence is not in the subjunctive mood, but the indicative instead. Note that it is not common to use the indicative mood with if. Let's compare. If I was sick, she would give me medicine that tasted terrible. Indicative is equal to states, facts, or asks questions. In this case, if can be replaced by whenever. If I were sick, I wouldn't be here. Subjunctive is equal to hypothetical. I am not sick, but I'm imagining that hypothetical situation. Now let's do some exercise. Complete the sentences in reported speech. 1. Where have you been? He asked me. Alors là, vous allez essayer de trouver la bonne réponse. Alors, where have you been? Number 2, come in. Number 3, I have a toothache. Number 4, Charlie was playing the piano when Peter arrived. 5, don't smoke. 6, they should go to the police. 7, where do you live? 8, I'll open the door. 9, are you French? 10, you have to do your best. Alors, la première question, where have you been? On passe directement à la correction. Alors là, on va dire, he asked me where I had been. Where have you been? Direct speech. Indirect speech, c'est là. Voilà. C'est, pardon, un instant s'il vous plaît. Voilà, ça c'est reported speech ou bien indirect speech. Alors, he asked me where I had been. Alors, number 2, numéro 2. Come in. Come in. He told me to come in. He told me to come in. Number 3. I have to take. He said he had to take. 4. Charlie was playing the piano when Peter arrived. He said that Charlie had been playing the piano when Peter had arrived. 5. Don't smoke. He told me not to smoke. He told me not to smoke. 6. They should go to the police. He said that they should have gone to the police. 7. Where do you live? She asked me where I lived. I will open the door. He said he would open the door. Are you French? Là, c'est une question. He asked me if I were French. You have to do your best. He said I had to do my best. Cours d'anglais.